Hey, everybody. I am so excited to be here today talking to an amazing person. And you know what? I don't know how this is going to flow, but I guarantee you, if you watch this to the end, you are going to get some fabulous nuggets because I am talking to the fabulous Khalilah Johnson. And what we're talking about, let me tell you what this topic is. It's unpack to impact. I'm really excited. You know what? I'm just going to dive in. But before I do, let me tell you about Khalilah Johnson today by reading a little bit of her bio. Khalilah Johnson is a trauma and resilience expert, keynote motivational speaker, corporate trainer, at risk youth advocate, licensed chaplain, best selling author of the CEO of Redefine Unlimited, and executive coaching and consulting firm. As a intergenerational trauma survivor from adolescence to early adulthood, her own desperation for change led her to her purpose, and she is now dedicated to helping others break free from the bondage of inherited generational thinking. I love that. She passionately teaches natural born leaders, wow, how to regain their power by rediscovering their divine identity after trauma. After that introduction, are you just excited as I am? Welcome, Kalila. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much, Aprille, for having me. I am excited, especially the time and seasons. Like, I don't think that the timing could have been perfect. So yes. I'm a little amped right now. Like, let's get it, right? let's do it. Let's go, right? Yes. Listen, like, if we're not riled up, if we don't have nothing to talk about, like everything around us is like, it's inspiring me up right now, especially as a trauma survivor, trauma and resilience expert. Like, let's get to this, like, right? So thank you for having me. It is an honor. I thank you so much. And I've seen your bio too. I love those that have sought out to help others, that use their life as a light. And I just thank you for being a light. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So please tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about you. Like, how did you get started?
All right. So let's see. Falling apart. You know, that place where you get past tired and desperate. So because I was, pretty much a trauma survivor. I grew up in a very chaotic household, a very abusive household. I suffered from multiple forms of abuse, like molestation, rape, and then ended up in a very abusive, narcissistic, psychopathic relationship. And I was a teenage mother. I was, I couldn't focus very much because of the trauma. And often everywhere I went, it felt like rejection. Even when I grew up in the church, it was like, stay away from her. But my trauma, was one of the things that I couldn't understand. I always felt like I was a mess. I remember at 14, God, make me wise. Why is my mind like that? I'm not understanding why I would get so stuck and feeling so weighed down. I blamed everything on myself. And so when one of the things I remember as a child is that I was very rageful. I was very angry. I fought a lot, and we had to constantly run from my stepfather, who was abusive. And in one moment, I remember that rage turned into, I guess I changed at that moment. At 13 years old, I was about 80 pounds wet, 5, maybe 7. And he was threatening to hit my mom and do what he always did, which would end up in embarrassment in the neighborhood, teasing, and us running to the phone booth to call the police. And I remember he's raging again, and something clicked in me. Like, it was just like, ain't nobody scared of you. And I started cursing this big 6'4" man, 300 pounds, crazy ex-Marine out from the roughest neighborhood in Baltimore. Like, I mean, I was done. And my mom was crying because she's like, he's gonna kill you. Because he used fear to keep us. I mean, if we didn't talk like we were afraid of him, we were like, we would be beat. If we looked at him wrong, we would be beat. If we took a bath, we would be beat. If we were sleeping, we would be beat. It would, but like, to the point where our bodies were bloody. It was just so much trauma. And I remember just standing up to him and saying, ain't nobody scared of you. Because at that point, it's like a place where either I'm like that fight or flight. Instead of me flying, I stood to fight. And I knew he could beat me, but I didn't care. Kill me then. Like, I mean, that's the place of rock that That would be better than continuously seeing you abuse my mother, keep us hostage to fear. And so I stood up to him, and he literally told my mom, he walked away and he told my mom, get your daughter before I kill her. And I said, kill me then, you know, in some explicit words, a 13-year-old shouldn't use. And then finally he came over and he cocked his fist back and he gave me everything he had. I mean, this big man, I shouldn't have gotten up. And so I fell. I had a little weave ponytail on, thought I was cute, and I got back up. The weave ponytail was gone, but I said, is that all you got? At that moment, everything shifted. Like, he never hit us again. When I would come downstairs and like he'd be laying on the couch, he would turn the other way. But what he did do was let the neighborhood drug dealers let them know that they could have me. And the next year I was raped. And so that was this place where after that situation, I didn't have my fight anymore. Like, one of the things I knew is that I don't care what nobody said. I fought boys. Like, he made me this pit bull. He'd be like, if you don't fight them, you better fight me. And so after a while, that fight or flight anxiety was working for me because I ended up being really good at fighting. I was always scared and I would just fight, you know? But the next year when I was held down and I was violated, I remember like thinking it was my fault. I didn't even know that I was violated because I'm the strong one. I beat up boys. Like, I'm not afraid of anybody. And at that moment I said, I could have fought. I should have fought. It must have been, I must have accepted it. And then he started telling everybody I was a whore and all these different things. And I accepted it. It was internally. And that is the place where I was just like, what is wrong with you? And I couldn't get up anymore. I felt like I lost my fight. And that was the place where, like, I remember I was like, I would never be like my mom. Now, years later, after I became a teenage mother that year, after that, at 17, I became a teenage mother again. I can't focus in school. I can't do anything. I can't even hardly get out of bed. I only could get up. I was an insomniac at night, and I was just so depressed, and I was blaming everything because I don't understand. Like, why can't I just be like everybody else? I'm thinking it's just getting up. I can understand trauma. So when I finally went through all of the many stages of insecurity and not understanding, like, why do I feel like I can't control myself? Why do I feel like I can't get up? Why am I always like at the bay of how I feel, my emotions? Why am I not strong anymore? It got me to the place where I was pregnant at about 24 years old, and I was in a relationship with this person that looked like, he was nothing like my stepfather. He wasn't rageful. He was very quiet, very, he was getting his degree. He was an honor student. He had 2 jobs. He looked the part. And so I was like, okay, let's go. When I got pregnant, I was like, okay, let's do this, right? He's not like him. That was the barometer. He's not like him. And when we got married, it was 2 months after we got married was the first time he punched me in the face. But he didn't just hit me. I was used to like if you're going to be mad, if we're angry at each other, like, okay, abusive relationships, I can handle that. I'll argue with you, but there was no reason. It was like a small argument. And then he says, touch my stuff again, and I'm going to hit you. And I was like, please. And I'm thinking, because we're newlyweds, right? And he comes over and he literally hits me in the eye. And I fall to the ground. And listen, again, I'm a fighter. But something happened where I'm in shock because it didn't call for that. This is something different. I had angry relationships where passion just makes you fight. And I'm not saying that's healthy, but that was different. This was something else. He left out and then he came back in, and I was so sure he was going to come over and say, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. He came over and looked at me and he says, you better not call the police or you ain't gonna have no money for your baby.
Wow.
It was so different. And through that marriage, I can just let you know, it was a different level of abuse. It was different than just, because I could have handled the fighting, because I can handle that, but the mental, emotional, like I would put clothes in the washing machine and I would go downstairs and they would be gone. Later on, when I moved out, they were he would move them. He would do psychological things and I saw the doctor, and the doctor automatically, after 5 months of wrapping me up, he says, oh, she's bipolar, and put me on like 10 medications. And so I went from being completely abused and having the ability, like just feeling really, really like weighed down, to being a zombie, where people would see me and I would be locked in my mind, like, and I remember people laughing at me. And now I'm not only trapped inside of this abusive marriage where I cannot work, I cannot get out, I can't fight back. I am trapped inside of my mind. And that was a road.
Wow.
I told you a lot already. Right?
Yes, you
Like,
have.
and there it is.
Yeah, yeah. And so what do you do now? Do you like how have you used that experience in your life now?
So when that wrong doctor, you know, and I was going to a therapist and a psychiatrist, it took me down a road of just trying to, first of all, get off of the medication. And he would also have me arrested because he would just say, she's bipolar. And the police would come and I would say, trying to explain because I didn't even know what was happening. And I would get arrested. And he would just do that because once he put me in, and his mother was on the same medication as well. So he knew what the medication, getting off of the medication would do. It causes a suicidal break. Mm-hmm. And so when I was locked up, they would leave me in there for 3 days off my medicine. And by the time I came home, I started to feel better than the zombie. And I would stay off of it. And then it would be it would take me through a plummet because you can't just come off of that medicine.
Right.
And I tried to kill myself. I all of the medication that they kept switching my medication. I had a Walmart bag of medication. And I said, and it just made sense that I would stop my pulse. And when I took all of that, it was then that I went into, I was committed. My mother out of the blue came and found me. And I was just about gone. And my pulse, they couldn't find it. And I was resuscitated. And when I came to, I had to go into a hospital psych ward. They reduced my medication. Thank God they reduced my medication. Yeah. From that point, I changed the doctor. It was still in the same office, but I changed the doctor and he reduced it because he was a normal doctor, you know, somebody with 10 medications.
Them A-B doctors, not them CD degree doctors.
Where you get your license from? So, yeah. So I was able to start to clean. I was still on medication, but I was still a little bit of not myself, but I wasn't zombified. And that gave me a little room. And as he showed me how to get off the medication, I started to do the work. I started to really, really unpack some things. I was having flashbacks of trauma things that was happening as a child. And I remember one day writing out and getting all the anger out about my mom. Being like, you're so weak. I'm in this situation because I'm blaming her for everything, as you know, that happens. And I remember writing out all the things she did. I cursed her out in my letter just to get the anger out of me. And by the time I ended at the bottom, all of a sudden I realized I was reading something that looked like something my daughter would be able to write about me. And then I said, oh my gosh, I am her. That hit me harder than my stepfather. Yeah, that was the realization that something had to change. And so I began the continuation of really addressing me. And that took me inward. And once I began to work inward and say, okay, I really like raised my hand like, God, show me. And yes. And it was painful. And it was taking all of my excuses away and letting me know every decision I made out of a false identity based off of the responses of from a child, you're not worth anything. And then I would get into this situation. And so everything I had decided was me responding to the accusations of my childhood, to the trauma. And so through that, having to actually confront that, it gave me my power back. It allowed me to say, wait a minute, I do have options. And I began breaking this thing down. I mean, if you ever, I remember, I know that there's a scripture that says, take every thought captive. Like, no, I did. Like, that was it wasn't just, sometimes you in church and you just be like, yes, it's a good scripture. It don't hit you until you actually got to walk that thing out. Like, right. I got to take every thought captive. I got to block what I see. I put vision boards up. I put, I didn't get on the phone with the same people. I removed myself from situations. I sought out leaders. I sat in prayer meetings and pray for me. I'm like, listen, can y'all lay hands on me and break this generational curse? And as I realized when I got to the point where I started to analyze everything, I realized that my story was not my story, but it was a continued story. I mean, I was a clone. I was a replica. I was repeating history, 3 to 4 years old, violated, molested, all the way to my grandmother. Right
Wow.
at the same age. It was as if something was around saying, oh, it's time to rape, it's time to do this. This is the cycle that your family goes on. Like it had rights to me. And looking at my daughter saying, oh no, show me whatever I have to do to break this, because this cannot continue. And that desperation, literally, I feel like that place of desperation was so honored. I mean, it was like God honored me with that place. Like, whatever I gotta do, it's not till you get to that place. Like, whatever I will go where I gotta go. I'll die to who I thought I was. And that led me to a journey. I tell you, and through this journey, it has not been easy. I think I've died about 1,000 times, not physically, but literally. Like the versions of me that were false identities from the trauma. I mean, this thing deep. And so as I continued and tapped into the divine healer that I am, the divine nature that I am, the identity that I am, the creativity that I didn't know I had, as I started to, the other part of that started to come forth. The person that I am, I'm so proud of me. I mean, some people, when they first get me, some people think I'm arrogant. But mostly it's confidence.
Yes.
I'm very careful of who I let speak in my life, because there's a place when you really see yourself as you ought to. All the affirmation that I didn't get, I had to affirm myself. All of the things that I couldn't do, I had to learn for myself. And I had to literally reteach myself how to think. I looked at receipts to remember things for the week. Like, I had to find ways, because I had to build capacity. This was no easy road, and it is a continuation. I'm not saying I'm trauma free. Like, if I can't manage my stress, I can't think. I examined the other day, so frustrated. I was like, Mama, I can't stand you. Like, this PTSD, and I'm so tired of this, like mine. But I keep building. I say, okay, this is an opportunity. The opportunity to, when I can't do what everybody else does, it gives me the opportunity to take a different path. And in doing that, because I had to try harder, it builds a resistance and a muscle. It's almost like if both of us are walking down the street and I'm wearing weights, by the end of this journey, somebody gonna have stronger muscles. And that's where post-traumatic stress turns into post-traumatic growth and makes me stronger than I started out with. And so that's where the disadvantage becomes an advantage. And that's what I teach women. That's what I teach women, I teach men. That's what I want to give to so many people. If I'm confident, I see the same thing. I'm your mirror. And so a lot of times, because we've been in America the narcissist, we've been rejected in a way, and we've been dealing with a system that made us hate ourselves. And when that happens, those accusations, we become, we start to move in a direction of responding to the accusations and further away from who you actually are. And so what I deal with is the reason why I say executives, because those are the ones that started coming to me. Executives, doctors, lawyers. Matter of fact, I went to a therapist. He started coming to me. I had a professor. She started coming to me. It was just this place. And I was like, you're more educated than me. But they understood that was a education is not like they had therapists. But here I am as somebody that had gone through all of these things, that literally was diagnosed and said, I will never permanently disabled cognitively. Not, for a little while, like the courts. I was getting disability check. And I said, I don't believe this. And I did have to pick myself back up, because I couldn't even rest when I wanted to. I couldn't do normal things. But I built my capacity up. And I still do, and I still self-regulate, which is learn, to learn when the trauma is activated, learn what environments, be careful about who comes in my space, being very particular about everything, because, this is not just a place. I'm a healer.
Right.
I'm very protective, of the things that I do, but I'm still a trauma survivor, and I'm still surviving. And so I help people recognize when they are, sometimes we think Black excellence is like Black excellence. And I'm not just talking about us, because I actually have culturally all over the place clients, but I feel like right now, I feel like I'm moving in that arena. I feel like Black excellence is actually a trauma response of high functioning anxiety. Because when I see clients, it is this place of striving sometimes where they is almost striving so much that they paint themselves in a box and they can't be themselves. And they are. I mean, first of all, and then we're denied our reality to say, this is happening to us. And they're like, oh, slavery, what a narcissist would do, that's happened in the past. Like, get over it. Okay, but I'm still wearing your last name. I don't know who I am. And so you've given me the ability to get degrees and to do this and all these things, but it is a compromise for my identity because I don't know who am I.
Right.
And I have nobody to talk to. The mental health facility, I got in there and that doctor was like, yeah, I already know about you Black people. Like I was an animal study. He had all pretty much, if you don't ask me a question and say, what's wrong with you? Like, he was like, yeah, I know what y'all deal with. That's really how they, and that's so many of us, our mental health and our mental wellness is a one-stop shop almost. But there's no place to say, here's the study for intergenerational trauma survivors of slavery. And they just want to stay away from it. So our reality has been denied. And when you deny someone's reality, it causes a split in personality, because now I have to either conform to survive.
Yes.
And leave myself and deny myself so that you don't feel comfortable. But yet I'm supposed to come to you for therapy when you won't even acknowledge that you don't have the capacity to deal with my wounds. Now we have to learn how to self-heal. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with therapy. I still
right.
I go through sessions with therapy, but it needs to be balanced with those that have overcome. We need to stop denying the healers. I get better results, and truthfully, there's a study that says, the paraprofessionals are getting better results because, we know I am the demonstration of your theory. Your medication did nothing for me. I'm not on medication. I am right now. I am just, when I get foggy, I say, okay, self-regulate. I'm like, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do. I'm gonna take these steps. I did learn. I'm certified in trauma and resilience from Florida State. I'm certified as a, trauma and a support specialist in Trauma International. I've been in every training there was because I had to survive. And so now I take those practical steps, but most of the things I'm learning, intuitively I knew to do. I'd be like, oh, I did that in the beginning. I knew to start to heal the inner child. Nobody told me. I knew that, like, these things, this is just language, but these are things that it was intuitively. And so the thing about it is, he said, there's things that are in us that we have denied. It's called suppression. It's an epigenetic suppressor. When trauma happens on your DNA, there's called an epigenetic marker, and it suppresses the expression of your DNA. And so trauma can be passed down. And so, and it can be more removed, but what we're seeing is a history of trauma passing down with no outlet, with no place of, I'm angry. And I told someone today, fall apart. I need you to understand, like, this whole, I've got to be perfect. That is an accusation response. That is a trauma response. It's two sides to this thing. Yes, we don't like when, you're lazy, get a job, you're violent. We don't want to deal with, what do you I want to see you go through this type of, I want to see your DNA handle this type of trauma. And you not be mad. Like,
exactly.
Kill a target. Like, tell me about that. So this is the place where I give people the permission. And when I stand up, it doesn't matter what race, what age, what sex, what status, it bypasses that because I give permission to stand in your truth. And I didn't realize how powerful it was until then, and when I started telling my story.
Yeah, and that's very, very powerful, and even your journey, like complete 180 and then 180 again, 180 again. If there was a number larger than 180 to mean a complete utter change, is it's wonderful. And now you do that to other person, the sad other people, I mean. And the sad part is there's so many other people out there. And since the pandemic, I've always kind of just prayed for people in the world.
Yeah.
But with the pandemic, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are abusers. They can't get away. School could have been like their only outlet, or, their abuser going to work, and they are in it. And it's like, Lord, you putting this on my heart. There's a child, there's a woman, there's a man, there's somebody out there, and they're going through. Just touch them, bless them, Jesus. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And so as you were talking, you kind of led into, steps you did, as far as, which is miraculous. Because I want to know, how did you figure out, vision boards, and how did you figure out yourself? Because I know there's courses and everything, but if you're not in that life, you don't hear about your inner child and DNA responses and all of that.
Well, I learned that later. That part I learned. The language I learned later. But the beginning parts, it was intuitive. And
wow.
Yeah. You know what? But the vision boards, that wasn't me. Actually, that's when The Secret came out. Like it was like about 2007, 2006. It was all this stuff about The Secret, and they were talking about vision boards. That's the first time I had heard from that.
Okay.
I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. That was the part I started to seek out, and that's when I put affirmations. Like I had to leave him. We left the house. He had just, like, when I was ready to leave, he took everything from me. But I was so grateful. I was in the hood, and I was sleeping on a mattress with my kids, saying, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord." Like, the house, the cars, the false, people be like, I knew you'd marry up. I said, "You dummy." Like, I mean, at that moment, I was like, I just told you all the abuse I went through. And all she saw was the outer appearance of success. And I said,
"Oh yeah,
that's slavery. D, you thought I married up because he went to college? Because he had more money than me? Our worth is, we sell ourselves so cheaply. Like, so you think because he has this." And I would be in a situation where I'd be like, "But he not that smart. They not that smart. They got a techno. They know how to remember. So you got a good memory. You recite, but our inner, like, what happened before we got here? Like, how did we heal? How do we know when to wake up? How do we survive?" One of the things I did study, I did go back to school in 2007. As I started, the first thing I did, I took two classes, psychology and sociology. And I tell you, I got an A because I was reading everything, even when they didn't ask me to read. I was like, "Good, that's probably what I got." Like, I was like,
self-diagnosis.
I'm trying to help myself. And I remember one of the things in sociology where they talked about how intelligence is measured depending on where you are. See, in this institute, if I build the institution, you have to survive based off of this institution.
Right.
And I get to decide who's intelligent based off of it. But if you put me over here in Africa, they're going to decide in this in this
right.
It's not all I'm talking about, but in this tribe, and what I got to do is go kill a lion and survive. And that's how they determine what's the name. If you take me out of my environment and put me in yours, then you get to tell me that I'm not wise because I don't know how your rules apply. So you get to be the one who wounds me and the one who has the solution. You get to be the one who tells me I'm dumb and creates the education system. You get to be the one and ruler of everything that I am and get to take my last name and tell me what my worth should look like. You get to tell me how I should express my pain that you caused. And so all of these things, these narcissistic reactions, that started to be so clear to me, because when these doctors and these therapists and my professor and every exec started coming to me, and pastors and people of that I was taught to look up to, that were on a basis of that was better than me. And when this psychiatrist told me that I was bipolar, I trusted him because what? He had a degree.
Yeah.
So I denied, I had an internal war because there were things that I knew, but I denied it because you told me that this is the only wisdom that matters. And so that is the place I had to break up with that lie. Like, Okay, and once I broke up with that lie and truly started to learn intuitively that there's a divine wisdom, there's a knowledge, there's an ancient wisdom that we have access to when we stop seeking to be validated by the very ones that have dismissed us, and then start looking internally. Even in the Bible, it says that he says, no man needs to teach you. Holy Spirit teaches you everything. Also, it says that inner still voice. But we're so running, trying to get approved that we never take the time to stand still. And so I literally feel like 2020 is the setup for the greatest healing we've ever experienced. Like, I ain't mad at yesterday. I know a lot of people are scared. I get like this. Yes. Tear it down.
Well, let's talk about yesterday.
Oh my gosh. I take that back. Don't take my words and be like, she's trying to start a riot. I'm not. Y'all just,
no.
I'm just saying that I'm talking about the place of tearing down the ideals that we've kept for so long. And so that's what's happening. Like, I ain't talking about, don't hurt nobody.
Don't burn your house down.
Don't hurt nobody.
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, yesterday was crazy. And I think, I'll speak for everyone, but what was, I guess, crazy for me is how the difference in how the people were handled for like the protesters for the George Floyd, and then how the protesters, with their and like breaking down windows, breaking down and bombs. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do anything. Maybe this laugh is a trauma response. I don't know. But right now it's fun. It's like, it's almost like you gotta laugh. I don't know if there comes a point where you just like, this is like.
I mean, really, it's like, am I seeing this right? And where's my phone? I don't know where my phone is, but the selfies with the security and like they're running in there, and it's like, but I need a photo op. Let's, barricade and bomb so I can hold this Bible in front of this church. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I can't watch a lot of CNN and news because it really.
I don't watch it.
See, I'm about to get emotional now, and this is not what this is about. But
it come out. It's okay. It happens. It actually happens. But if you do, you're not losing out. Bit of a respect. Fall apart. You deserve it. You deserve it. If it comes through, do not apologize for it. Do not apologize for the falling apart. You deserve to cry. You deserve to scream. You deserve to break. Listen, I can handle it. And they listen, after yesterday, tell me what I'm going to do that's going to embarrass me. I felt embarrassed. I didn't. I felt vindicated. I felt generationally vindicated. You know what happened yesterday? It's a disruptor. Mm-hmm. Every single time, that cognitive dissonance that happens. Cognitive dissonance is when you have a belief about something so deep that even if the truth is in front of you, you will deny it and you will conform. Like you will just like, it becomes this delusional place. And we as a society, you keep making me swallow my pain to make you
right. And just real quick, I'm realizing, this is going on YouTube and people are going to see it. So yesterday might be 2 months from now. So what we're actually talking about, so people know what we're talking about. So we're talking about the Trump supporters that were, I don't know whether to say if they were escorted in by security or they rammed in. I think some broke in, some were escorted in with their rifles, and they tried to bring the clip. Did I see what?
Did you see the people with no legs?
No, I did not see that. I did not see that.
How they break in with their wheelchair? They were being pushed in, yelling something. I don't remember. They were handling.
Yeah. Wow. So basically because now they're calling them terrorists. So the domestic terrorists were escorted into the Capitol
Yeah.
to stop the certifying Joe Biden as our next president. So that's what we're talking about when I said, well, let's talk about yesterday.
The forever mark, January 6th, 2021. I saw something on Facebook. I just glanced at it. I've been trying to, with moments, I pull away a lot. But I saw this on Facebook and I thought it was just so funny. It was like, thank God 2020 is over. And then it was like 6 days into this is what, like, and they had the guy with the horn standing in there at the Senate seat. Like,
yes, I saw that too. It was a story or something.
Crazy.
Like, wait, are we in 2021? Like, I thought
I love it.
2020.
I love it. I'm gonna tell you right now what I see. So I'm gonna tell you what through my eyes as a trauma expert. I'm gonna tell you that this is the greatest moment for us. Let me break it down. Sounds crazy, right? It's not.
Yes. So please tell me.
when something, for us to be denied over and over, like for real, are we really shocked? Like, we've all experienced racism.
Right.
We know it, and for so long it's just like he just should have done what the cop did. Like, he should have, like, everything has been, I go and say they're saying this because I'm that, this supervisor is doing this. Like, we have dealt with this our whole lives, and so this is really it's shocking because I'm like, oh, this is what it comes to, but it's really not, though. We know that this exists, but I think that this wasn't for us. This was for us, and it was, so there's two sides to this. It was for us and it was for them. It was for those that decide to be blind. It's like we have been the elephant in the room. We've been the woman that shows up that had to marry her abuser but can't escape the abuser because we still got his last name and we don't know what our original last name is. We are attached to this abusive relationship where we've got to learn how to deny our pain in order to survive. And so that has been the place of swallowing this place and having to accept what they give us, the lie that we are not enough and we're subhuman and our identity has been reduced. And so with that being said, what's happening right now is everybody is getting an interrupter. And what happens is that there's a place, and I always refer to that to the Bible, but there's that place when it says Ezekiel was a prophet of God. And I remember when God was saying, break through to these religious systems, and he said, go to these kings and tell them and break through. He wanted to get their attention. They were sinning. They were so idolized, and they were having these false gods. It's the same thing. Right. And so what happens is that he said, take the battering ram, Ezekiel. Take the battering ram and keep breaking and breaking until the wall comes down. And so what happened is that everything that's been happening is us, is God saying, Ezekiel, tear that wall down. They can't hear me. They can't see me. They don't know who they are. And so everything that we believed, this lie that we've all taken in, we relied on, they relied too. We all dealing with intergenerational trauma. So we're looking at the races, but I'm not even that mad at the races because they're just doing what they were conditioned to do. I'm looking at the system.
Yes.
That's actually holding the puppets. And so what's happening right now is that it's got like, so George Floyd, all that wasn't enough? Seeing a black man in a car and getting shot by, all of this wasn't enough to disrupt your disruptors, and you still got an excuse in saying America great, America this, and excuse me because I get a little sweaty when I talk about things like this. I should have worn a different shirt, but America the great, America this, and yes, make our country great again, not realizing that we have a different and this is the thing. It's not that they don't realize, they don't want to know.
Oh yeah,
because you know what happens with the abuser. If you think about it, me being in a relationship, I remember there were some abusers that hated to see you in the morning with a black eye because it was a reminder of how they were a monster. And so we are the woman with the black eye. And every time they see us, they hate us because we are a reminder of their inhuman bloodline. And so what they do is say, you deserve this. Look what you made me do to you. Look, if you were really worth anything, we wouldn't have had to control you like this because you were just nothing but a whole bunch of monsters until you came over here and we educated you with our systems and we gave you jobs and we taught you how to be sophisticated. They've got to sell that lie, but it's time to wake up. And so when you see this level of a disruptor, battering ram, is breaking the wall. And it is not until, that's why my program is called Unpack to Impact, because I know you want to go forward. I know you want to, but if you go forward, you'll be going forward and you'll be accepting a bowl of soup instead of your inheritance, because he wants you to know that this is not enough. You accepting handouts from someone who does not, like, they are not your God. I'm going to tell you that you were kings and queens and who you came from. I'm going to tell you that your DNA is carrying the greatest wealth, that there are memory keepers, that you come from a place where there is wisdom locked in your DNA. And so the reason why they've experimented, and the reason why they've done so much, and the reason why every time they try to figure out, and your grandparents were experimented on, and they do all of these different things, and they still trying to do studies for why we are inherently, like in 2001, I saw NYC do a study about why Blacks and Puerto Ricans were inherently violent. Like that kind of like, so we're not going to talk about your narcissism. We're not going to talk about your bloodline. So what's happening right now is they're confronted with their own mental illness.
Yeah.
Racism is mental illness. To be able to be murderers are mental. If you're telling me I was a monster because I'm violent, but there's murderers in your, like, I'm not saying, but there's mental illness that you're trying to create a system to treat me, and you denying the fact, like, it's the craziest thing. So what happens is that when we take the time to really see it as it is, you be like, that's so crazy. Like, you see how but it's always been that crazy.
It's, yes.
We had to deny it, and now we not say nothing. They saying it for us. Like, that's what's happening right now. Like, it ain't nothing about when you go through a bad relationship and everybody's like, you didn't go through that. He didn't do that. And all of a sudden he out there beating on a woman in the street. And he'd be like, I told y'all, I said, does it not validate you? It's like, I said, and this is how we,
yeah.
Now, will I have to scream? Will I have to cry? Yeah, I'll process my pain, because once you tell me, like, you know, when a mother comes over to her daughter and they hit themselves on they fall, it's not until that mother acknowledges the pain that they have the right to cry. So now America is forced to recognize our pain. You can't escape from this. You can't escape from this. And once they acknowledge it, we can cry.
Yeah. So you brought up Unpack to Impact. I want to learn what that is. If you can break that down for us. And then you also spoke that you work with executives. So tell me, like, who do you work with? And then please unpack to impact.
Okay. All right. So I am very selective with my work, because I when you, like, as a healer, you like, I can help you. I want to help everybody, but there's an exhaustion.
Yeah.
There is, I am, one of the things that I had to learn was be very careful. It says, be careful who you throw your pearls to. And I recognize it's almost like when you're going to someone that's not at the level of receiving what you have, you're just wasting it. And it's literally, when I step into someone's situation, I'm not just your coach. Like, I'm not a business coach. I'm not a regular business coach. Like,
right.
I'm a warrior. Like, I am dealing with the bloodlines. And so it's not, I'm not just somebody that can just walk away and be like, oh, I literally have dreams. I know what's going on. I know I see things that are beyond what we see. I see past the sight. And so when that level of gifting has to be protected. It has to be protected, and that's not why I work with execs. Actually, they're the ones that showed me. I kept going after people that look like my mother, because I was trying to heal heal my daughter, but they were coming after me. And so what I realized is that there is a place where those are the ones that they actually have dealt with trauma. Everybody got trauma, for the depressed, for the this, for the that. You know when to go get help when you're depressed, but the ones that are dealing with a trauma response that looks like achievement, that's celebrated, that paints this facade, they become stuck and they can tell nobody, because they're all the way up here, and then nobody is there to hear them cry, and nor can they admit. And so nobody can handle their pain anyway, because they're the leaders. Who is
exactly.
the leader?
Yeah.
So that's actually my ordained place of authority, that I am called to them, because that's who finds me. I'm telling you, like, they will find me. It's like I can hide and they will find me. Like my clients are led to me. I know everybody's like, I should be one. You should be doing them more on Facebook. They ain't on Facebook. they're gonna know where I am. They're gonna find
They're gonna find you now too.
they'll find me. And because that's a place where, this is not just a good idea. This is an anointing. So there is a place where, and so those people that are dealing with the level of trauma that looks like overachieving, but is actually high functioning anxiety, that they find themselves at a place feeling so
that's good.
down, worn out, and they're like breaking apart, and they're trying to hold it together, and they about 10 seconds from falling all apart, but there's nobody there to catch them. And so they're the ones that I work with. I work with doctors. I work with, executives. I work with pastors. I work with therapists. I work with people that that help other people. That I work with coaches. I work with CEOs. I work with people that have the response, that are leaders. I mean, just those that are called to lead, that have found that they have moved away from who they truly are, and now they can't hide from it anymore. It's a place where all of a sudden, and if, I don't just work with them. Like, don't just come to me when you just like, yeah, I was a little stressed out. No. You'll know when it's my time. I step in when it's my time. Like, I just had a call the other day and was like, listen, something's chasing me. Like mentally, like something's I don't know if I can make it. And I said, are you ready now? I'm ready. Let's go to work. And is that moment of saying, I'm ready? Like, is that, like I say, if you're just tired, I'm not for you. Go to a therapist, go get a regular coach. But if you are at a place of desperation and saying, something's been happening in my bloodline, and that is the place where actually it is really a divine place, that God literally allows people to get to the place of the end of themselves, where they've been building a tower to Babel, trying to be like God, and he's like, okay, how strong do you want to be? It's like, I can handle it. I'll handle it. We have this extra bit of strength. Until all of a sudden you be like, I am worn out. Like, okay, I tap out. God help me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need help. Send me help. The moment you cry out and say, I need you to help me. Something's wrong. In my family, like this thing, something's got to change. And when you're ready, that's when you'll know. And that's when the people who are called to me know. Because there is a time where I was always trying to find them, and God, it literally was like, he was like, it's a frequency. They'll come to you. And so now I position myself in many ways to be found. Now, I have others for everybody. I tell everybody. I have a book coming out, The Antidote, How to Regain Your Power After Trauma. I can't wait. It's a key. It's coming out in March. And my first book is Undefeated, Broken to Purpose, where I just like throw up on the pages everything I've been through, like sort it out with generational stuff, and somehow it breaks people through. And they're like, I can't put it down. I finished it in a day.
So if you're taking on clients, how can they get a hold of you? Like, how do they get into your world?
Go to Redefine Unlimited, and it'll be, say, hire an executive coach. And right there, you'll see me and my husband. My husband is health. I am, of course, mind and soul, and he's soul as well, but he deals with the nutrients and the health and all the things that a health coach does. And I think it all embodies. But
it's like holistic in a way.
It's definitely holistic, because all of it matters. All of it affects our DNA.
Yeah.
All of it affects our DNA. And so, and we're coming out with a supplement line soon. We're coming out with a lot of things, because that's what intuitiveness, as soon as all these things are in a row. But so Redefine Unlimited, you'll find, and schedule a consult. Just schedule a consult, and we'll talk, and I'll give you an application and see if we're a right fit. And I think we'll know. You'll know and I'll know. Like, so if you believe that that's where you are, and you are an executive, a leader, someone that is meant to lead, know that that's who I'm for. And if you're at that place of desperation and said, I'm the one that's called to be the first, I'm the one that's called to leave the familiar, I'm the one that's called to change the dynamics and take back the inheritance, instead of accepting just a striving bowl of soup. I'm waiting. I'm ready to connect to all the divine places that are in me, and I can't wait, because I get good results. I get godly results.
I bet you do.
Like, let's cut that giant's head off. I think them demons be like, that's all you got? Let's go.
Devil, is that all you got?
Under my feet. Yes.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Okay, so someone is listening. Someone is going through trauma. In addition to reaching out to you, what would you say? What's their first step?
Their first step. So you dealt with trauma, and now you're at the place and saying, I need someone. You gotta find some help. You gotta, I mean, you're not gonna be able, like, I did it on my own because I didn't do it on my own. First of all, it was divine. I did not do it on my own, okay? I know I heard the divine voice of God, but God walked me through that steps, and then I still, don't get it twisted, therapy, like I have a combination of things. I'm not just sitting here like I'll do it myself. I learned all the different things. Support is so important, even for me.
Right.
You know, we are always, first of all, I want to remove the feelings that, you know, you are arrived and you don't want anybody to know, or, you know, you don't want to get help because it's weakness. I still get help. I got a therapist appointment next week. I lost my grandmother. I started feeling a little like anxious. I couldn't think. And I was like, okay, let's talk about this, because I always need someone to talk about. Like sometimes all I need to just talk. Sometimes we just gotta be talking.
Yeah. And I was going to conclude this, but you know, I have one final question, because I feel like in the Black community, you don't need to talk to a therapist. You just need to talk to God. You know, so.
Listen, now that I understand, and that's why I'm a trauma advocate too, and I do that. I actually have escorted, youth. I escort, because I have a program for youth too. I work with youth. I work with at-risk youth. I don't just work with execs. I actually give back to to at-risk youth, and I'll go to your doctor's appointment in my schedule and talk with you and say the things that you don't know how to ask for, so make get the right, so that they treat you right. And so I do believe in, for us, you are validated, and not just going out and just getting a doctor. I get it. I know what they did, but it does not negate that it does have value. And so when we don't have a lot of Black therapists, and even if we do, that does not mean that they're free. Like, the color don't mean I'm free. Like, sometimes they're more wrapped up than the rest of them. Sometimes you got to find a white person because they don't have the same issues. So, I mean, it's just the person that you need. They may not have the ability to handle all of it. They can't go deep. They may not understand, relate to it, but the level of care that they do have is a level. And so there's stages to this thing. Before I ever dealt with the head giant of the generational, before I ever dealt with the generational stuff, I just had to learn how to get out of bed. I had to learn how to create a system of blocking the interrupting thoughts. And so get there first. There's levels to this. Go to a therapist, and I also recommend finding someone who is a trauma support specialist. Look them up, and this is the thing. If it's trauma, do not just go to any therapist. They will traumatize you even more, because there's a difference. I don't know why everybody isn't trauma trained, but if you go to a regular therapist and you have trauma, they can actually push you into re-traumatizing you, because they have to be trauma trained, because they'll want to talk about it. Every situation doesn't need to be talked about. Some things, they'll know. A trauma trained knows how to take you through the process. So find a therapist. That's so important. But find a therapist that is trauma trained. But I would also look up, and of course this is due to your how much money you have. I don't know. You got to pay for somebody. If you can't find the support, find the support that I can say, my cousin, I trust them. You've got to find somebody to be able to say, this is what's happening, and to support you on this journey. I know when we are the first that leaves our family and dysfunction is all around us, that is the most loneliest walk. And there is no one to be like, I'm going to therapy. You gotta actually leave the familiar to become something new. And so on that journey, I recommend joining groups, searching out, like right now, everything's online. Get and find your tribe of support. And I also offer that, and I'll be offering it in the beginning of the year.
Oh, good.
Programs. I have a program coming out in February. It's Unpack to Impact. That's the program, and I've done it before, and I did it with the youth, and I mean breakthrough. And I've done it with women as well. But I started with youth, and I tell you, they started bringing their friends, and it was the only youth program. The kids, you got to force teenagers to show up stuff. They showed up, and it started bringing people from their schools, and I mean, it just filled up. And afterwards, the level of breakthrough, I'm talking about these kids that were suicidal, these kids were dealing with alcohol, these kids were dealing with sexual identity issues, and they, for some reason, God make me easy to talk to. I mean, it's easy to talk to somebody that got a history like this. you ain't embarrassed. So that gives me the ability to stand there naked before them and standing there like being able to share this is what I'm going to understand. So they were able to come forth, and we did have counselors in the room as well. But I just, I have a program, Unpack to Impact. If there is a 6-week course, I'm going to be walking through live. That's going to be a support group. I am going to start a support group as I get, I'm rallying people now to get around that we can start to do things like that and support, create a support membership, something very inexpensive so that we can kind of be in the same room, because you need to be around like-minded people. There is support available. Just find it. And if you really want help, find it. But yes, so go to, in that case, again, Redefine Unlimited, my shop, and or just let me know you're interested, and I'll put you on the wait list, and we'll go from there. But definitely, I'll give you some resources to let you know and point you in the right direction for some really good therapists.
Definitely. And all those resources are going to be linked below in the description. So be sure to check out Khalilah Johnson. This has been awesome. This has been fabulous. I really have enjoyed talking to you. I'm so glad we met in our home community. So this has been wonderful. Love it. Do you have any last words or advice to our audience before we wrap it up?
Absolutely. Embrace the breaking. Embrace the breaking. Like so many people are feeling so many things are coming to the surface. That is the beginning. You are right where you need to be. That is the place where the cocoon starts to break. You are not falling apart to the place that you're in. Know that what's happening right now is you are coming at the end of yourself to evolve at a place of dependence of something higher than you. And it is a place of safety, protection, like you've never known, and divine ideas and wisdom. I could go on and on and on, but embrace the breaking. It's going to be okay. You're going to survive. You were built to survive. Like, who goes through this much and stands here? You're going to come out strong.
Yes.
Just go through the process and embrace it.
Thank you so much. All right. I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you soon.